Hey guys, Matt Donald here. Just let you know once again, as I always do, that I now, as in always, forever and always, have a Patreon. Yay! At patreon.com/Matthew Donald. There you'll find bonus content for both the Ritwit and Paleobites. For the Paleobites bonus content, we discuss pop culture featuring prehistoric animals, and this month we're talking about Camp Cretaceous, the Netflix hit show in the Jurassic World canon. The reason why I'm not saying Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous is I'm trying to hide the fact that we've covered so many different things in the Jurassic Park/World franchise. Look, guys, it's the one big dinosaur franchise out there. If you want there to be two big dinosaur franchises, buy my book, Megazoic, on Amazon.com. Anyways, link is in the description for where you can sign up to the Patreon. Thank you for your support and have a lovely day.
Roar, growl, snarl, bellow.
Welcome to Paleobites, the podcast that was so focused on whether or not it could, it didn't stop to think whether it should. My name's Matthew Donald, and each week I and a rotating series of guest co-hosts talk about and rate a genus of prehistoric animal, be it dinosaur, mammal, arthropod, and so on. This week I'm joined by famed explorer of the fandom that is Jurassic Park, and as well as Alien, I guess. So,
Yes.
yes, Ben O'Regan, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. Cure everyone.
Yes. Hello. So, good stuff. At least the Jurassic Park franchise is in a pretty good spot. Alien, I don't know.
I have
yeah,
no confidence in Disney to do anything good with that, not after what they did with Star Wars.
That's true. That's true. I've heard The Mandalorian's pretty good, so maybe Disney's getting back on track with Star Wars. I don't
They've
know.
just got to keep stuff away from Kathleen Kennedy. I don't even think it's like some of the edgy people online,
Yeah.
the feminist, agenda-driven or anything like that. It's just,
Right.
You just got people that can't tell good stories.
I think the problem with what happened is that she and Bob Iger fast-tracked the sequel trilogy because they wanted to make the money off of the purchase right away, and therefore they just made a lot of bad creative decisions.
I also
So-
think the other problem is, I know J.J. Abrams, he's one of those device people in that 50% idolize him, now 50% call him Jar Jar Abrams and hate him. But I
Yeah.
personally thought the first one, The Force Awakens, was actually
Yeah.
pretty decent, albeit a rehash. I think where the problem happened
Yeah,
is
it was definitely a
when
rehash.
Episode 9 was completely rushed and what do you call it, just frying everything together in a
Oh, kitchen
No, I
sink
don't-
sort of thing?
kitchen sink thing, like a struggle just to get something good together after the disaster that was The Last Jedi.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think the main problem was they didn't have Abrams do the whole thing through. Like, what's his name? Is it Ryan Johnson or Rian Johnson?
Ryan Johnson. It's a weird way to spell
He just
Ryan,
has
but-
completely different ideas of what Star Wars is.
Yeah, exactly. They picked two people that had completely different views on how to do it. I don't know. It was weird. Who knows? But good news is that the trilogy's over now, and they'll hopefully do something better with it.
I think just the main problem with it, and then I'll stop it there because you know what I'm
Of
like.
course.
When I get on a tangent,
Of course.
is that episode 8 is boring as hell, and it has that
Yeah.
whole middle arc on the that gambling
The-
planet
the-
or wherever it was that
yeah,
goes
the
nowhere.
casino planet. Yeah.
Yeah, and the ninth one, while it has some decent bits, like spoiler alert, Palpatine.
Yeah, that's the
it's brought
dumbest
down
thing,
by
that
the bad
Palpatine's
stuff
back.
and everything else. Well, he came back pretty well in the original Wii U before the Disney buyout, like where
Right.
he
I
was
didn't really like
possessing
it then
clone
either,
bodies.
but yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
true. I don't know.
it was just stupid.
it is stupid. Well, good thing we've got dinosaurs to distract ourselves from the stupidity of modern Star Wars. And
And if you
speaking
want to
of
cut
which-
any of that out, be my guest. I didn't mean to go
No,
on a tangent.
no, it's great. We talk about so many different things on this show that's not about dinosaurs or other stuff. I think
It's a funny
people.
thing that I get so worked up about, like Star Wars, just for example, because I've never been one of those hardcore fans, like hated on the
Yeah.
prequels. I actually quite like them. I just
I like
just know a
the
bad movie when I
prequels.
see it.
Yeah, like the prequels have bad dialogue and bad acting, but I love the production design and the world building of the prequels. Like,
Yeah, like I know a lot of people will probably crucify me for saying this, but like Episode 1's one of my favorite Star Wars. Yes, it's got some terrible stuff like young Anakin and stuff, but visually it's just stunning.
it is, and it's got some cool things like those underwater creatures.
The Gungans.
Like, yeah, the Gungans are cool. Like Jar Jar may be annoying, but the Gungan culture as a whole is really cool. like their
Yeah.
weapons and their technology. Yeah, like.
Yeah,
And the
like
pod
if you
racing's-
ignore Jar Jar and the unfortunate thing that he does look a bit like a racial caricature of a Jamaican or, a Caribbean islander, which I think was unintentional on George Lucas's part.
Right.
Yeah, the Gungans are pretty good. They just speak stupidly.
Yeah, they do. Well, a lot of characters in Star Wars have like certain tics, like that they speak wise. But so speaking of Gungans, Gungan sounds like Junga, and speaking of Junga, we got Majungasaurus. That was my terrible segue.
And I apologise to our listeners who might get fed up with me going on little derails like this. It's not intentional. It's just
No. This whole
happens.
podcast is all about derailments and tangents and other stuff.
Yeah, basically, it's not a strictly dinosaur thing, despite the name.
No, it's not. It's like we've talked about history, we've talked about culture, pop culture. At one point, I think we talked about language in one of the episodes, and I'm just like,
I'll have to backtrack through them and double check.
yeah, like we've gotten some. I think we talked about like this one person. One of my co-hosts, Lawrence Mack, he talked about living on this farmland in Canada, and where he went to see a bunch of beavers. That was pretty fun. Majungasaurus, it means Mahajanga lizard, after the Mahajanga region it was found in Madagascar. Type, it is an abelisaurid theropod, a group of Gondwanian meat-eating dinosaurs known for their stout faces and incredibly tiny, nearly vestigial arms.
Most famously represented by Carnotaurus.
Yes, that's the most famous member of its family.
From Disney's Dinosaur and Fallen Kingdom.
Yes.
Granted, if you're wanting an example of it being an absolute beast, see Disney's Dinosaur, because in Fallen Kingdom it was kind of pathetic.
Yeah, it was. But the Fallen Kingdom one's more how the animal actually would have been, though.
Oh, yeah.
So
I just mean, like, it's funny how it tries to attack Sinoceratops, gets its butt kicked, and then it tries to scavenge from the T-Rex and gets its butt kicked.
Right, and then it gets it's denied that guy's leg at the end. But yeah. Did you see that Giganotosaurus is going to be in the new Jurassic World? That's pretty exciting.
I think I shared with you the
of course you
article
saw that.
where
What are you
Sam
talking
Neill
about?
confirmed that. I love how Sam Neill pronounced it. He pronounced it as Giganotosaurus, like Autism and Dreadnought.
Right. See, I'm wondering, because I think he also said it was like the biggest animal ever, so maybe he's confused and he actually means Dreadnoughtus. I don't know.
Nah, I think he's
I hope not. I'd love to see Giganotosaurus.
He's probably not fully up to date on dinosaurs, or he's just exaggerating. I
Yeah.
wouldn't put too much in it.
Yeah, I hope so. I'd rather see Giganotosaurus than Dreadnoughtus, so...
No, sauropods, they're not boring, but you don't need that many.
Yeah, exactly. Size, 19 to 26 feet, / 6 to 8 meters long, 1 to 2 tons. It was a carnivore. Time, Late Cretaceous, 70 to 66 million years ago, so it was a victim of the meteor.
And definitely followed the abelisaurid trend of having pathetically tiny arms.
Yes, so small. They would have probably atrophied if it lived a little bit longer, so...
Even the tyrannosaurs had bigger arms than these guys.
The Tyrannosaurus arms were actually useful. They were strong. Like they could actually. I'm assuming they kind of used them to like while they're grabbing
Mating
something with
plants
their
or something.
mouth. Mating plants, or maybe they used it to kind of hook onto its prey while it was grabbing on its mouth, just to have further leverage on it.
Whereas in the abelisaurids, they're even like the joints wouldn't have even moved, if I recall.
No, exactly. They're just kind of hung there, like. Location, Madagascar, described in 1955. Pop culture appearances, Planet Dinosaur, Dinosaur King, which is an anime, which is very much Pokemon.
But known for being a cannibal.
Yes, it was. Jurassic Fight Club, Jurassic World the Game, Jurassic World Evolution, and is one of the confirmed species whose genetic material contributed to the Dominus Rex in Jurassic World itself.
Probably for the scutes.
Yeah, exactly. Overall, a lot more appearances in pop culture than I expected. Good on you, Majungasaurus.
So it's sort of like an obscure dinosaur, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it's like mid-tier in terms of
Like it's not
like,
well known, but it's not obscure.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's well known among dinosaur fans, but it's not like well known among the general public. But it's getting there. It's getting closer. Madagascar was in a funny place at the end of the Cretaceous. It had only recently broken apart from India, and the two started drifting further apart. India would later run into Asia at some time after the dinosaurs' extinction and form the Himalayan mountains, while Madagascar remained isolated up to the present day. Maybe millions of years in the future it'll collide with Africa, but I don't know. I'm no geologist. I don't know how to predict continental drift. You hear that, Alfred Wegener? Of course not. You're long dead.
Yeah, Madagascar was just as unique back then as it is today with its living and extinct
Yes.
species of lemur and stuff. It had, from what little we know, were predominantly sauropod dominated herbivorous dinosaurian fauna. And
There's actually
some species of herbivorous crocodiles.
Yes. Oh, yeah, that's true. And there's also a big frog called Beelzebufo.
That I do not know of, but that name sounds awesome. Obvious devil reference.
Yeah, it's a big frog. And actually, Dinosaur Revolution, which is that's one of the pop culture appearances I forgot. But Beelzebufo was shown to be predating upon baby Majungasaurus. So
I can believe that. You get some frogs that eat small birds and toads.
yeah,
They do the same.
yeah, exactly. Well, because India and Madagascar once joined together, a lot of families of creatures can be found in both places, and one such group is the abelisaurid theropods. Like India has Indosuchus and Rajasaurus, while Madagascar is the subject of today's episode, Majungasaurus.
Interesting thing about Madagascar, as you mentioned, it's separated from India. Most people think it's separated from Africa. It did, but it and India were joined longer than it was separated from Africa.
Yes, it was. Yeah, India. There's a lot of overlap in the creatures in India and Madagascar because they were once one continent, once little subcontinent. So,
Indeed.
but it's one of the best studied theropods from the southern hemisphere. Majungasaurus is. We've got several nearly complete skeletons
And skin impressions, so it's definitely scaly
and skin impressions. That's true. I forgot about that. That's true. I forgot about that. That's cool. Majungasaurus was an apex predator in its environment, hunting sauropods like Rapetosaurus, which we'll cover in a future episode. And it's also, like you mentioned earlier, one of the only dinosaurs with direct evidence of cannibalism. Numerous Majungasaurus bones have been discovered with tooth marks that are not only the same as those nearby Rapetosaurus bones, but they're the same size and spacing as Majungasaurus' teeth and claws. Teeth and jaws, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So
either they were fighting a lot or they're outright eating each other.
yeah, that'd be a bit disturbing if they're eating each other. Like, I know we used to think for a long time that Coelophysis was also a cannibal, but now I think we know that that's kind of
Oh, you beat me to it, dude. I was just about to bring that up. Didn't they now think that it was a live bearer?
Oh, that's the reason, really, now. Okay. I didn't know that.
Which would be interesting if that's the case, because it's like, then why didn't that lead to a revolution amongst theropod reproduction? It must have died out with the Coelophysids.
Maybe. I don't know. That'd be interesting. That's weird to think of any dinosaur as a live bearer.
If it would have meant that their line that eventually produced modern-day birds wouldn't it be as vulnerable to predation as they are now due to egg laying.
You know, it's funny. The Venatosaurus in Peter Jackson's King Kong, I'm fairly certain they're supposed, according to the book, they're live bearers.
That's the velociraptor, like ones that chase the sauropods, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the ones that were kind of like velociraptors, except they were really big. They were like this. They were kind of like the size of Majungasaurus, honestly. So,
but they're also thin and skinny, so they can get through the tangled vegetation and rocks of the island.
Right.
So I quite like that about Peter Jackson's Skull Island. It was like they're all retrosaurs, and they don't make any attempt to be, fully up to date, but they make them as believable as they can for 50s to 90s inspired dinosaurs. Like, they fit into their environment. The V-Rex is designed to have a powerful bite.
Right, yeah, exactly. And there's so many different creatures in that world. Like, I need to get a copy of that book, but it's out of print, so it's really expensive on Amazon. So, but yeah, so Majungasaurus, if it was a cannibal, that's just, come on, stop being a creep, Majungasaurus. Get away, you nasty piece of work. Another thing about Majungasaurus that's interesting, I actually didn't know this, but now that I look at different depictions of it, yeah, it did have this. Majungasaurus also has a little stump-like horn on its brow, similar to similar like to Carnotaurus, which had two ones on the side of it.
But they did originally believe it was a pachycephalosaurid when they found the skull fragments.
That's right, yeah. But this time it was just like a single horn right between the eyes, like a little one. Kind of like a unicorn, except this one was a lot smaller and stumpier. So, man, good stuff. Majungasaurus is an underrated dinosaur. More people should learn about it. I think it's cool. It's like, Carnotaurus is flashier, because of the horns, and also it's a bit bigger. But Majungasaurus is a good representative of the abelisaurid.
And for a abelisaurid, or Carnosaurus type abelisaurid, granted it's probably more closely related to the African and Indian species in the South American and Antarctic ones.
Yeah.
But it was very streamlined for its type, so it was probably a pursuit predator.
Right, exactly. Yeah, no, the abelisaurid were a pretty successful family. I think they were all over Gondwana. I think there was one. I think Tarascosaurus was like one of the only representatives that was in southern Europe. So,
But them and the Tyrannosaurs seem to have taken over quite well after the the late phase of the mid Cretaceous, when most of the Spinosaurids and the Giganotosaurids and the relatives all just in general all disappeared. I think there was still a few around, but there was just a massive overturn.
That's definitely how it was. In the Late Cretaceous, it was basically Tyrannosaurids in the north and abelisaurid in the south. So,
and then you had a couple of interesting cases where you had like some predatory leaning oviraptorids, and then just all the various strains of the Maniraptorids, which is like oviraptorids, dromaeosaurids, and what do you call them? Abelisaurid or whatever, the weird ones with the
the ones with the little bitty claws and the long necks. Yeah, those ones are weird. I should do.
I've never been able to pronounce the name correctly with them.
Yeah, I've only heard it read, so I have no idea how it's pronounced. Man.
You can see why the speculative dinosaur project focused so much on the Maniraptoran branch of the theropods, because that was how it was in the Late Cretaceous.
Yes, exactly. And there were a lot of abelisaurid relatives too, like a lot of ones, and most of them had completely atrophied hands and that. So,
but not all. Like there was the Noasaurids, which are a less well-known clade closely related.
Yes, we will talk about the Noasaurids in the next episode we do. So, nice. So, but for now, we're going to rate Majungasaurus 1 out of 65 million. I'd probably give it like a 60 million. It's pretty cool. Like.
I'm gonna probably. I won't give it a 65, and I can't give it a 60 because that's just me just being a lazy sod and copying you. So I'd probably give it like a 50 to 55 million.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I think it's a cool species. Like I like the abelisaurid. I like how they like we were talking about how the Peter Jackson King Kong dinosaurs were kind of more more old school
retro.
Looking. Yeah, but these kind of have that because we have skin impressions and they had like rough crocodile-like skin. So these are like one of the last few dinosaurs that we know for a fact really did look like those old school dinosaur sort of things.
Like they probably did have feathers for all we know on certain parts of their body, or as a mating thing, like how Carnotaurus was depicted in the Field Guide to Dinosaurs. It's like it's scaly, but at certain times of year it would grow feathers.
Well, that's interesting.
I mean, we have no evidence of that, but we can't rule that.
Well, it's kind of weird to think about because Carnotaurus also has little spikes on its side, doesn't it?
They were definitely spiky, scaly things, not danger fluffs, as some people like to call the newer
danger
types.
Fluffs. I like that.
I think that applies to the raptors at any rate.
I don't know. Danger fluffs are pretty terrifying still. I don't know. I think so.
Like I call Pteranodon a flapper snapper.
I like that. All right. Well, that's it for this week. If you want to get a hold of the show, you can contact us at mattsd@matthewdoncreator.com. You can find me on social media at matthewdon64 on Twitter, at matthewdon64 on Instagram. Wait, hold on. At Matthewdon Creator on Facebook, at Matthewdon64 on Twitter, and Matthewdon64 on Instagram. Nailed it. All right, so.
Bit of a mouthful.
Yeah. Man. I also have a book series on Amazon, Megazoic, available for print and Kindle. I believe there's a Majungasaurus in there. I don't know. I know I use some other abelisaurid in later books, like Cryptops and Rugops.
I've heard of both of those. They're both from North Africa, if I recall.
Yes.
Rugops definitely is.
Rugops, I know, is actually one of the dinosaurs that was also used to make the Indominus Rex. So,
and it's also shown in this documentary from the mid-2000s that had one of the older Jurassic Park 3-inspired depictions of Spinosaurus, which made it even bigger. They made it into this big kaiju-like thing, and it just completely kills
how much bigger could it get?
A Rugops by just whacking it in the face with its claw.
Nice.
Not ridiculously kaiju size, but much bigger than it historically was.
Right. That's cool. All right. Well, that's it for this week. As we say at the end of every episode of Paleobites, chomp, chomp, roar.
Chomp.
What does this thing do? Chomp. I imagine it like a real gruff voice, like a real scary bully. You know, it's like, huh, I eat my own kind.
I eat my own kind, I chomp them.
Like exactly like that.